from the new recording lair located deep beneath the Wine and Spirit store in Ephrata, Pennsylvania.
You're listening to the Masonic Lite podcast.
Studio 665 presents Masonic Lite podcast. This show is recorded by Masons, for Masons, and is for entertainment purposes only. And please, no wagering.
This podcast is not endorsed by any Grand Lodge, and the ridiculous ramblings of the hosts are their own. And now, here's your host.
Hey, everybody. It is Masonic Lite Podcast, episode number 156.
156.
No, 100.
Great. I didn't do my Blue Lodge right.
There.
Lodge 156.
Right, except this is episode number 100.
I don't know where I'm at.
I know. That's all right. We're off to a rip-roaring start here tonight.
No.
We are totally packed here in the studios. Jack is on MIA tonight. He's doing a program elsewhere, but we have a studio full. We have Josh. We have Larry. We have our old friend Seth Anthony as guest host tonight. We have our guest tonight, Brother Doug Hitz, who's a past master at Eureka-West Shore Lodge number 302. One of the best lodges around, I think. But would you agree?
Oh, I would totally agree.
Okay, great.
I might not.
That's good, since we're both in the same lodge.
On a number of key metrics.
Yes, on a number of key metrics. That's right. We have Brother Larry Hudson, who is past master of Millersville Lodge.
Millersville Lodge.
You all have got me all screwed up.
And Lamberton when he was.
Yeah, that's what I said, Lambertville.
He's just
past master of Lamberton and Millersville.
Yeah.
That is right.
Oh, that's right.
Lambertville.
That's right. He was the first master of the Merged Lodge.
That's right.
Yes,
That's
right.
Great. Glad to have you with us. Brother Larry Griffith from Millersville Lodge also. Good to have you with us tonight.
And past master.
And past master. And, as I understand, MSA recipient.
Yes, I am.
Great. Awesome. And Josh, who makes this magic work. Good to see you tonight.
Hi.
Hey. So we're going to begin just a little bit differently tonight. Many of us were in attendance at our good buddy Pete Ruggieri's memorial service just a couple days ago. And so we definitely want to get just some thoughts on that before we start going around the horn on other things. So, Larry, why don't you start us? Why don't you give us your thoughts?
It was a fantastic service. The Masonic funeral was extremely well done. We were talking about that in the car on the way up and how well you did it, Larry. It
you
was
really
fantastic.
did.
Really.
You did amazing.
Really. But Pete was with us that day.
Yes, he was.
Barry Banks is singing "Oh Danny Boy." Fantastic. Barry Banks from the Metropolitan Opera in New York, a worldwide Grammy-nominated opera singer who travels all over the place doing concerts. I mean, the man is phenomenal. He's singing "Danny Boy" and my phone rings.
Pete calling.
That's a Pete moment. But here's another thing. Larry opens up the funeral kit and sees that the collar and the jewel aren't there. And
Larry.
I know.
Oh,
You had one job.
it was
You had one job.
a second Pete moment. Now, he would have loved everything that happened
Absolutely.
that day. It was fantastic, but it was a great service. It was Joey Dougherty came in from Los Angeles. He's a two-time Grammy Award winner, by the way.
That's true.
And did a beautiful melody, and it was a great day. It was a great day.
It really was. It really was.
I think it's a real testament to Pete when you looked at the caliber of people who were there. And on a serious moment, you see actives in the Scottish Rite, Supreme Council officers from Grotto, folks from all over the Masonic world, especially here in central Pennsylvania, but nationally, who Pete had an impact on, whether it was through this podcast or through his unique sense of humor and his brand of just being Pete. those were all guys that he made some kind of impact on. And it was a testament to his life's work and what he did while he was amongst us to have that moment. But he definitely would have had a 15-minute rant on the fact that collar was missing, and then like how we screw up Masonic funerals. That's the one thing we need to do right. Totally a Pete moment.
I just want to say one thing too, and I don't mean to butt in on your, but the brothers from Azim Grotto came down and they were well represented, and what a fantastic grotto that is. And thanks Barry Banks and Victor and all you guys that showed up. It was a true testament to your love of Pete.
It really was. And there's 3 Larrys in the studio tonight, so we're going to totally get this screwed up tonight. But Larry Hudson, you did a fantastic job on the delivery of that funeral service. I mean, you were in this gigantic auditorium and unmiked. I don't know that mic was close enough that it was going to pick you up. But everybody in there could hear you, which was good.
Hear.
And you were spot on. You totally were.
Thank you.
And it was awesome to see that many Masonic brethren lined up along the side to come and pay respect.
Except when they lined up and then they moved when they shouldn't have.
Well,
another Pete moment.
We could do
Who's in charge of this funeral?
We could do a whole episode on that part. But
Did you have enough gloves?
Can I say one more thing? Because as we go on, I remember things. And the funeral, the Masonic funeral part was handled so well done. And then Larry comes down off the stage.
Oh, my gosh.
And gets in front of Stephanie, kneels down before. He starts crying. She starts crying.
We start
Tim
crying.
started crying. It was a moment that was absolutely beautiful.
It really was.
And I will say that.
It really was.
It really, really was. It set the pace until we all got on the stage from the podcast, and that ended everything.
It kind of ended everything.
Worst round table at a funeral ever.
Wasn't it? Larry, since you were the conferring master of that, you have any thoughts you want to add?
No, I was just honored to be there. I mean, Pete, I knew him and Larry from working at Verizon, and Pete was amazing back then. He had so many good ideas that the company enjoyed, and at that time, was that the team leader at the time?
Yeah, he became my boss.
Yeah. But before that, Larry and Pete were in their corner. They had to break them up at one point because they were just having too much fun back there. But they were getting their work done.
Yeah, we were getting the work done, but we were just having too much fun.
Yeah, but I was really honored to be there. It's just amazing to see all those brothers come out there. Because it's hard to get brothers to come out to things. Really hard. And especially on a Sunday.
Especially funerals.
Yeah. So, I mean, it was amazing. I mean, for everybody that wasn't there, you really missed something spectacular. Yeah.
And in Pete's honor, there was a tailgate party in the parking lot.
Oh, that was
afterwards.
The best.
That
Absolutely.
was awesome.
That was nice. Brother Larry Griffith, you have any thoughts that you want to share? Let's get up close to that mic.
That was one that I did miss. Family issues with health from my wife, and I really wish I had been there because I've known Pete ever since he got into the lodge. And the other 2 Larrys that are here, we also would get together for breakfast on Thursday mornings a lot of times, and it was very enjoyable.
Yeah.
So Pete will be missed.
He will indeed. Josh, how about you?
I thought it was a wonderful service. It was a wonderful celebration of Pete. And, all the things that we're talking about, yes, he would have had a gripe about. But, I mean, yeah.
There was a reference to tea bags at the end that we all had a lot of fun with. As some of you may not know, but Pete was a connoisseur of fine teas. And what was
The celebrant.
The celebrant, who Pete would have had a fit over that just anyway, but introduced tea bags to the group. And so, that was a great way to honor our good friend. Indeed. All right, so let's get this train back on the rails here. What have we been doing Masonically over the last couple of weeks? Well, I'll start to give you guys a chance to kind of get your stuff together. probably most notably recently was last Saturday, the Valley of Harrisburg, the big Valley of Harrisburg, held a Kentucky Derby event that was well attended. There was a lot of great fellowship that went on. We all got to watch the Derby. There was an interesting Derby race that was kind of created there in-house. That was a lot of fun for folks. It was a great afternoon of Masonic fellowship. Prior to that, Doug was actually our guest, was part of this. But last Thursday, several of us conferred the Royal Arch degree on 13.
Mm-hmm. Yes, 13.
Right. 13 worthy brethren who had been regularly entered, passed, and raised, and et cetera, which was great. We did that at the Carlisle Masonic Center, and we had a great afterglow.
Well said.
Okay? We'll leave it at that. Larry.
Yes.
Larry number 1.
Yes.
I was debating what you would call 3 or more Larrys in a single
I'm
place.
not getting
I
into
believe
what
that,
we can't go with our official name.
I believe that's a stooge of Larrys.
It is. It's definitely a stooge of Larry.
We go with our official name.
No.
Oh my gosh.
No.
Oh, there's a story there.
Yeah, we are not going there. No. Larry Maris, what have you been doing with Sunday?
There you go. Okay. Well, I did not make lodge meeting.
What?
Last Tuesday. I know you didn't make lodge meeting. You didn't make lodge.
So no, I didn't make lodge meeting.
The other Larry made lodge meeting.
He made lodge meeting.
I can confirm that both Larrys were there.
But both Larrys were there?
Both Larrys were there.
You weren't there, were you?
He was senior. He was senior
you were at
warden.
lodge meeting?
Yeah, they drafted me into a chair.
You were the only Larry
I was
missing.
the only, really?
one Larry short of a stooge.
That's right.
Well, Wednesday, executive board meeting for Tall Cedars. Larry and I were there. The other Larry, Larry Griffith. And on Thursday, we had the Goose and Gridiron breakfast, which we had to switch locations because the normal place that we were
Did you get kicked
closed. Not for any reason other than they're getting a new pizza oven and they had to shut the place down.
Oh, so it was just a weekly close down.
Within 5 hours' notice, we had, about 10 guys at breakfast the following day. So Goose and Gridiron is very well organized. Anyway, let's see. Memorial service. Been doing a lot of work for Tall Cedars. A lot of legwork, a lot of clerical work. But other than that, that's what I've been doing.
Seth.
Well, my last 2 Masonic weeks have been a lot of Royal Arch chapter. I was at the conferral with Tim and Perseverance 21, had a meeting the Monday before that. We did have a meeting of Donegal Church Assemblage of the Operatives that Tim was absent from.
Yes, I was.
He did not get advanced to the 2nd degree, but I think we'll fix that coming shortly. Mm-hmm. So we had a good day that day, and then my life is allied Masonic degrees and all things otherwise. After having driven the office from Oklahoma to Pennsylvania in a U-Haul without cruise control for 20 hours.
We could do a podcast on that trip.
On that whole trip, yeah. There's a lot of dead armadillos in Missouri. I wasn't expecting that. But that's the other thing that keeps me super busy these days, so no complaints.
No, great.
All right, Brother Doug.
So I was actually part of the move-in crew.
You were. I appreciate your back in labor.
Yes. I liked it being just labor, quite frankly. But yeah, so we helped move that stuff into the 2nd floor of the Scottish Rite up in Harrisburg.
Sort of the 2nd floor. We had to go up 3 floors to go down 8 steps.
So it's like 2 3/4, 2
right.
1/2.
Just enough to make filing cabinets painful to go down those steps.
Yes. Yes. But that refrigerator truck did make life easier.
Doug has the long arms required to move a refrigerator truck down steps. We learned that.
We did it in shifts. It was all good.
We did it.
But no, and then let's see here. A couple weeks ago, I actually visited Millersville Lodge and got to see that fine building, which was great because that's the town of my alma mater, and it was great to be at Lodge with Larry and Larry. And then,
but not Larry.
But not Larry.
This is going to go on the whole show, folks. You might want to
just strap in. Now. Just strap in. Yeah. And then, yes, last week I actually was one of the candidates that received the Royal Arch degree.
You were the exemplar, no less.
I was actually one of the exemplars, yes.
Is everybody in this room a Royal Arch Mason?
No.
What'd you think of it?
I liked it.
Good.
No, I would say to anybody that's been through Blue Lodge, strongly encourage you to go and continue that journey in York Rite. going through chapter. I'm a guy who really, really likes the ritual in Blue Lodge. And so the stuff in chapter is right up my alley. Cool. It was really nice to actually sit through those and be the exemplar in 2 of the 3 degrees. So that was really great.
Great.
I remember Josh going down in the hall that night.
Shh. Not all of our listeners are Royal Archmasons.
They have no clue what I'm talking about.
I know.
But no, it was great. It was a good experience.
Great.
Highly recommend.
Larry Hudson.
Yes. Well, the only thing I did was our stated meeting the first Tuesday of every month. And I was with Uncola, Larry. And I was with my brother, Doug. But W. Larry wasn't there.
No, we're not going there. We're not going there.
Was B. Larry there?
Keep your
B. Larry
keep your
was
finger on the dump
there.
button over there, Josh.
Larry and Larry.
And then we had the rusty nail degree.
Yeah.
That was very good.
That was one of the main reasons I didn't show up. I couldn't sit through another.
lot of flat
You've
tires
conferred
in
the rusty nail degree, Larry. You've conferred the rusty nail degree.
Yeah, but I wasn't in the mood for that.
Okay. Larry Griffith, how about you? What have you been up to?
Well, I've been put as chairman for the Children's Dyslexic Center in Lancaster, and we're again trying to do some fundraising. So we've got a sub-sale that's going to be going on, a few other things. We're doing pretty good because it costs us about $6,000 per student, and they don't have to pay a cent of that. That's for children that have dyslexia. And so my position is not to teach, because I couldn't teach them anything. My job is to try to set up some fundraising. So I represent the Lodge of Perfection at that. And that's what's been keeping me busy, that my wife's health. So
Lodge of Perfection, known by many as the best line in Scottish Rite. So.
They may be perfect, but they're not wise.
Josh, how about you?
I skipped the rusty nail degree, and that's about it. Been working.
You've been doing this show.
Been doing the show.
Yeah.
I saw a few brothers that haven't been to Lodge lately, and we've been talking about making an invasion at Millersville, but if I can get off work, I'll do it.
And he's been strapping duct tape on our computer here, trying to hold it together until we get a new hard drive.
Yep.
Which should be in sometime this week. All right. Well, before we take our first break, we just want to say a special thank you to our patrons on Patreon. We want to thank you for supporting this. And you, too, can be a Patreon supporter by contributing as little as $1 a month.
$1.
There it is. Attaboy. For only $1 a month, you can become a Patreon supporter by going to Masonic Lite Podcast. No.
Patreon.com.
Patreon.com/Masonic Lite Podcast.
For $1.
This is why we need to have this in writing.
Exactly.
For $1,
I
you too can
honestly
help
don't
buy a
even know
hard
if
drive.
that's right.
I think that's it.
I think it's right.
Good enough.
I think that's right. You can also follow us on Facebook by looking up Masonic Lite Podcast. We have resurrected our Twitter account, so you can follow and comment on our posts at Masonic Lite, at Masonic Lite.
Did Elon give you a blue check mark yet?
We have not gotten a blue check mark from Elon yet. And we've also resurrected the Instagram account, although...
Are you paid not to post?
Exactly. Exactly. They pay us not to post content. We also want to thank our contributing sponsors, business contributing sponsors of Hiram Solomon Cigars, George J. Grove & Son, Scott Helm Electric, as well as Intermezzo by Stephanie. Yes, chocolate. That's right. All right, we're going to take a quick break, and we're going to come and talk about booze with our guest, Doug Hitz. Woohoo! We'll be right back.
Fantastic.
Break.
Why choose George J. Grove & Sons for your next home improvement project? At George J. Grove & Sons, we've built our reputation on quality and trust for more than 50 years. For planning to materials to installation, George J. Grove promises a home improvement experience second to none. Whether your goal is reducing energy costs, decreasing maintenance, updating curb appeal, or simply increasing the value of your home, the George J. Grove team will recommend and provide solutions that stand the test of time. Call 717-393-0859 for an estimate or visit us at georgejgrove.com.
And we're back. As we mentioned earlier, tonight's guest is Brother Doug Hitz. In addition to his role as being a past master of Eureka-West Shore Lodge number 302 in Mechanicsburg, he also works for one of our favorite organizations here in Pennsylvania, the Pennsylvania Liquor Control Board. And Doug, what is your role officially, the title, whatever?
No, officially my job title is the Director of Wholesale Operations.
And that sounds like a great job to have, right?
Well, I think so.
So what do you do in that role?
No, so essentially my job is to work with all the licensees in Pennsylvania who sell beverage alcohol. So that's ranging from a grocery store down to the corner bar and making sure that they have access to the products that they want to sell. Either buy the glass at a bar or buy the bottle to go at a grocery or convenience store. And I have a team of customer service reps and a team of account managers who actually do kind of both sides of the account management piece.
So if I want my local bar to carry Eagle Rare, how do I make that happen?
And here we go. So let me back up, because I have to do something officially.
Yes, you forgot this.
I did forget. So
okay.
This is the official. I am not an official representative of the Pennsylvania Liquor Control Board, and all views expressed are my own.
There you
and
go.
Not that of the board.
Okay. There you go, attorneys.
So there we go.
All right.
I think I've satisfied that.
So how do I get my Eagle Rare?
You can ask and pray.
Okay.
At that point.
Yep.
No. And also, yeah, look, you can ask the bar to get it for you, and the bar will in turn ask their local store or us, and we'll see what we can do.
So I think it's probably a good level set here, because a lot of listeners are not from Pennsylvania, and this idea that there's a Pennsylvania Liquor Control Board, they're probably going, what the heck is this?
I want to get to that, and actually I wanted to kind of tee Doug up there a little bit for that. But let's talk about the Liquor Control Board. I understand Pennsylvania has a state store structure. Mm-hmm. There are a lot of states that don't. I hear a lot of folks say, who live in those states that don't, that they really glad they're not living in Pennsylvania. And I hear a lot of Pennsylvania residents saying they wish they didn't have one. However, from my own experiences, there are some real advantages to having a liquor control board. So as you describe what the Liquor Control Board is and does, talk about the advantages that a state has in having a liquor control board.
Sure. So again, all my personal views,
yes.
And I'll say observations as being a board employee for, oh my gosh, almost 17 years. It'll be 17 years in June. But so let's start about what's a controlled jurisdiction versus what's an open jurisdiction. That's probably the best place to start. And that really starts with prohibition.
It all leads back to prohibition.
It all goes back 100 years. And
just like everything in a lodge, 100 years ago,
right.
we decided this.
Exactly.
And it's not going to change.
See, there are parallels in work and in personal life, right? No. So it really does go back to prohibition. And, if you want me to, I've got some notes on prohibition and Volstead Act and all that fun stuff. But
Doug came way too prepared for this podcast with a book and notes.
He way overthought this.
I totally overthought it. But I will say this, in all seriousness, if anybody has any questions about prohibition, how the country got to that point of prohibition and how we got back out of it, and this is my shameless plug, I am not compensated for this in any way, Ken Burns. has a 3-part series called Prohibition.
That's right. I've seen that.
And it is really, really good.
Maybe we'll get into that later in the show.
But we can get back into that later.
Yeah.
So after Prohibition, with the repeal of Prohibition, states had a choice on how to manage liquor, wine, spirits, and beer in their state. And essentially, you really only had 2 options. You could be an open state where essentially wonderful. It was, again, every state was allowed to kind of construct their own liquor system within federal guidelines. And some jurisdictions, 17 of which actually in the U.S., became control states. So you either had a licensed state or an open state, or you have a control jurisdiction like Pennsylvania. And like I said, there's 17 control states in the U.S. We have Pennsylvania, Ohio, West Virginia, Utah. And even within control states, they all have kind of different flavors and different shades of what a control state does and what they manage. In Pennsylvania, we actually have a 3-member board. I'll kind of start from the top on down, if you will. And that 3-member board is appointed by the governor, approved by the Senate, and our job is to essentially regulate beverage alcohol in Pennsylvania. And the way Pennsylvania chose to do this way back when was to also function as the wholesaler and the retailer of wine and spirits in Pennsylvania. So beer is completely private, where the Pennsylvania Liquor Control Board licenses beer folks. But for wine and spirits, we actually buy it from the supplier, wholesale it, and then we retail it through a network of about 575 retail stores. So if you think about it, the Liquor Control Board is a $3 billion business smack dab in the middle of state government. We have 2 major distribution centers, one in Philadelphia, one in Allegheny County. We have, like I said, 574 retail stores, 13 licensee service centers. We ship something in the neighborhood of 18 million cases of beverage alcohol every year. We have 2 wonderful warehouses that every time we give tours of those facilities, Tim's smiling because you'll walk in and there's 800,000 cases of wine and spirits sitting in that warehouse at any given time. And, if you like to drink, you kind of think you just went to heaven. Mm-hmm. Because it's pallets and pallets and pallets, cases and cases and cases of beverage alcohol. But yeah, so every state got to basically figure out what they wanted to do with liquor laws, and Pennsylvania became a control state. And we actually have some great old pictures in the liquor board archives of the first day of liquor sales at a PLCB state store in the 30s.
Oh wow!
Where they still had bars on the windows. Mm-hmm. It's really incredible. If you like history, like I do, you find those pictures. I was actually cleaning out an office in one of my office moves, and I found an old filing cabinet. And in the filing cabinet, it actually had pricing journals and pricing catalogs from the 1930s. It was like pricing catalog number 34, and it had every listed item that the Liquor Control Board carried.
Wow!
Had a 3-digit PLCB item number, a description, a size, and a price, and it was like $2.22 for a fifth of whatever.
I think that's one of the, as a Pennsylvania resident, I think that's one of the benefits of the state store system. There's lots of things you can say to detract from it, but I think one of the benefits is the brand you're going to encounter when you go into a state-controlled store. They're going to carry what you like, and it's going to be a clean and safe environment, because I think we've all been to a state where there's a liquor store that is less than savory, perhaps, is the way to put it. But when you come to a Pennsylvania state store, what to expect, the brand that's there, and it's a curated experience. And while you might not expect that if you're from one of these other states, it really is a benefit here as a resident to know what you're getting into when you're looking for a product.
Well, also the price.
Yeah. It's a consistent price. You're not going to get gouged because you're in Philadelphia versus out in the rural part of the state.
Correct. Yeah, that's actually one thing we do have. We have actually called uniform pricing.
We know that a bottle of Eagle Rare is going to run you about $35, right?
Eagle Rare is actually a little bit more expensive than that.
Okay, $40, not much more.
Weller, I think, is
actually Blanton's is the $63 one.
Yeah,
well, but
it's the same price in Philadelphia as it is in Tioga County, Erie, or Pittsburgh.
And while you may more readily get Blanton's in New Jersey,
Do you actually have your hand up, Larry?
Yeah.
while you may more readily get a bottle of Blanton's in New Jersey, you're going to pay $120 for that bottle.
Correct.
Oh, I thought Larry had a heart attack.
No.
Well,
If
it's too early in the episode.
If I don't
for
put
that.
my hand up, he'll
Go.
keep going.
No, go.
What I wanted to say was, I was 9 years old the first time I ever went into a state
He was
store.
9 years old when the Volstead Act was passed.
Exactly. That was. Was that during the Whiskey
and I
Rebellion?
can remember that store because you walked in the front door and there was a long counter and the clerk was behind the counter.
Yes.
You asked for what you wanted and he went back in the shelves and pulled it out. That's the way the state stores were for me for years and years and years and years.
Mm-hmm.
They've changed. Now they're fantastic. I mean, you walk in there, they have a wine section. The marketing, the layout of the stores, the facilities are really fantastic. They really are. It's a pleasure to shop in these stores now. But as a kid, I thought, oh my word, this is unreal, scary.
Well, I'll say thank you for that because I think look, I have a lot of colleagues who take a lot of pride in designing the way the stores are set up, the way they envision a person shopping the store, and we've got a lot of great folks who work in store operations who go to work every day to work in one of our stores to provide a clean, safe, welcoming environment where they're more than happy to answer any question you have.
Yep.
And they either know the answer or, more to the point, they can find somebody who has the ansor for you and get it to you.
Here's the problem for me. I walk into a store today. Mm-hmm. I'm an impulse buyer. I go specifically for, say, a bottle of Seagrams. I come out with about 7 bottles of everything else.
Well,
that's fantastic.
The displays and the setup and the way you guys are marketing is really good.
No, we've got some great folks who do that. And actually, one of my colleagues, she works very, very hard to provide that experience for shoppers to come in and, experience, find what you need, but also give you an opportunity to find something that might be new to you.
Yeah.
But you bring up the counter stores. Yeah, for those folks who are listening, not in Pennsylvania, Larry brings up a great point. We used to have something called a counter store, where you literally walked up to the counter and the clerk, we had catalogs on that counter, and you would flip through the catalog and tell the clerk, I want code 291. Well, back then, code 291 was a fifth of Jack Daniels.
Why would anyone want that?
But the store.
Well, it's a code it's something I have memorized.
The Sears and Roebuck of liquor.
Exactly.
It is.
I say that because I'm a native Kentuckian.
And then this person would go, 1. And you'd go, uh-huh. And he would walk back, pull the 1 bottle off, put it on, he'd ring you up, take your money, you'd walk out with 1/5 of Jack Daniels.
Here's the
buy
thing.
more than one?
The stores
No, you
were
can buy more than one.
were always dark.
Mm-hmm.
They weren't well lit. The guy behind the counter was scary as hell. He's like a big, what do you want? As a kid, I'm thinking, I don't want to deal here. I mean, I couldn't
You
anyway.
were 9 years old when you went in.
Yeah, it was 9
Well, if you
years
were
old.
9, I'd probably
But it
be
was
mean to you,
still-
too.
It was
Exactly.
still
What the hell were you
scary.
doing there as a
Yeah.
9-year-old?
Yeah, I couldn't buy liquor in Pennsylvania until I was like 16.
I can fondly recall going to a Grand Commandery event where this older gentleman said, I'm going to bring some items for the hospitality suite. And he cleaned out his liquor cabinet, and they still had the liquor control seals on them.
The tax stamps.
The tax stamps were still on the bottles, and he was very proud to donate these
I bet.
to the hospitality suite. And I think that bottle of Seagrams was from like 1977. It was older than I was at
my
that
gosh.
point.
Wow. Oh my gosh. Yeah. But to your point, we've the store system really has changed from counter stores to what we call internally a self-service store.
Yeah, it's awesome.
And we had we still have self-service stores, and even today we have gradations of those self-service stores. We have standard stores, and the flagship stores are what we call our premium collection stores. So you could walk into, if you drive down the road back towards Lancaster, the stores or the shops at Belmont, we have a premium collection store there that really has pretty much full assortment. Wines, spirits, anything you could pretty much.
And
think
what's
of.
over our head? Since we're deep beneath the wine and spirit store.
That'd be a standard store.
Okay.
That would be a great tenant, is what's above our
Exactly.
head.
It is a great tenant. It is
been here for like
thing.
100 years, right?
Yeah,
I'm not going to lie. The irony isn't lost on me.
exactly. Isn't that incredible?
It really isn't.
Talk a little bit about the difference between the standard and the premium stores.
So it really comes down to assortment, if you will. So one of the things that we do work on from a store assortment perspective is making sure that there is a consistent assortment available, that if you walk into just about any store in Pennsylvania, you're going to find your stock and standard items, right? You're going to find, this is going to irritate him, Jack Daniels, Jim Beam, and I could name off a couple other, wine brands, right? You could find Gallo, Woodbridge products. There's going to be standard products that we carry in just about every single store. When you get to a premium collection store, though, we actually expand the selection to most of what we consider our listed items, which are our turn items we stock every day. And then we have all these luxury wine and luxury spirits. And this is where we start getting into the vintage specific wines. And we could have upwards of 6,000, 7,000 different unique SKUs in a single store. So a standard store, some of our smaller standard stores have maybe 750 items. And these would be stores that, we have in relatively rural areas. And that's probably the other thing about Pennsylvania. We guarantee at least one liquor store in every county in Pennsylvania. So even if you go to, a relatively rural county, like say Cameron County,
There you go.
There's at least a store.
That is the smallest county in Pennsylvania, Cameron County.
Cameron County.
Is it in Emporium?
It is an Emporium.
the county seat of Cameron County.
Yep.
Look at that.
Imagine that.
Or like in Ridgeway,
Where
in Elk County.
Where the Masonic
Elk
Lodge
County is what I'm thinking.
in Cameron County is in a town of 30. So it's a very small Masonic Lodge for that county.
I bet.
How many members in that lodge?
About 100. At least that's
Wow.
what I recall, because it serves a very broad,
big footprint
area,
Okay.
and that's not latest numbers by any stretch, but last
Sure.
I saw.
But yeah, so we serve every single county in Pennsylvania, and we try to give some level of basic level of service. But you go to a premium collection store, it is a vast array of standard products, but then I won't say everything else we carry, because we also have an e-commerce store or an e-commerce location that stocks even the rarer stuff or the limited selection. Because even though we're Pennsylvania and we buy literally over $1 billion worth of product every year, we still don't get everything that we want in the quantities that we want, because there are some products that just, they're limited production items, whether that be bourbon or some other type of product. There are certain wines that a winery might only make 1,000 cases of that product. And that's it for that vintage year. And they have to decide, well, where am I going to sell these 1,000 cases? Am I going to sell them in the continental United States? Am I going to sell them internationally? If I sell them in the continental United States, how much do I actually allocate to each state? So, I can tell you that our buyers fight for every single drop they can get. And we bring those in, and then we have to figure out where to put them.
So I would imagine that's also one benefit of a control state, is you're buying in much larger quantities than probably some of these individual reps in other states. So you're probably able to get some level of scale and deal and be able to get things that other states would not be able to get because of the size of the Liquor Control Board.
It is. And the other thing is it is at least a one-stop shop to come and deal with the PLCB. In other jurisdictions, you might have to deal with one or two, maybe three different wholesalers or distributors in a state. Well, when a winery wants to sell product in Pennsylvania, you come to us. We buy it, we send it out to the stores and we sell it. So there's actually economies of scale for them to actually buy, to sell to us, because it's really, it could be as few as one purchase order to one of our warehouses. It could be two purchase orders, one to each of our DCs. And it's on the purchasing side, we do flex a little bit where we can. But ultimately, on some of those highly allocated products, I don't want to say we wait our turn, but we do, we ask.
Sure.
We ask
Before we take
directly.
Before we take a break, Doug.
Yeah.
I have one thing to ask. And this is a request. Take it or leave it. Take it to your management.
I got a pen and a notebook.
Okay. I would love to see our stores sell CBD gummies at a good price. Do you think we can arrange that eventually?
Probably falls into a different area.
It says
of
it's
state
the
government.
Liquor Control Board, Larry.
Wine and spirits stores. Spirits.
I know that raises your spirit, but I don't think that's the same
The
definition.
wrong kind of spirit.
Well,
Think we should take a break?
that's a great time to take a break. And I'll be honest with you, I actually had like an internal over and under on how long it would take us to get to that point.
Before we do, Larry Griffith has a question.
Yeah, well, not really a question.
I'm not even writing that one down.
I worked in West Virginia for a period of time, and we could go to the local grocery store, and they had little mason jars under the counter. Nice, clear.
Yeah, those don't
liquid.
fall under the auspices of the Liquor Control Board.
Doesn't fall under that.
That sounds a lot like untaxed liquor.
Billy Bob's Mason Jar Special.
I'm just throwing it out there.
I'm not going to mention the town.
Right.
You know.
We had those in Kentucky as well. So
Yeah, your Elks clubs have them.
exactly.
Oh,
All right.
my.
I think we will take
Yeah.
a quick break.
Good thought.
And we will be back with Doug Hitz. As far back as the mid-1800s, records exist describing the pre-meeting tradition of brethren smoking cigars during and after gatherings. To this day, the practice of smoking cigars remains very much alive in many lodges. This custom is considered a time for brethren to relax, exchange ideas, and enjoy the simplicity and fellowship that is the very essence of our brotherhood. This is what Hiram Solomon Cigars is all about. Our starting principles are to bring Masonic brethren together in the harmony of a good cigar. Pull up a chair, sit back, light up any of our premium cigars, and enjoy the history. Hiram Solomon Cigars can be found at fine cigar retailers. For a complete list, visit hiramandsolomon.cigars.com or check them out on social media to find out when they'll be at a live event near you. Hiram Solomon Cigars is pleased to be the official cigar of the Masonic Lite podcast.
And we are back because Larry said I'm allowed to bring us back because he's tired of talking to Tim. Apparently, Larry treats Tim like the ladies in his life. I'm tired of talking to you.
That's
I'm
right.
just done. I don't want to talk to you anymore. Move on. You know, Larry, before we dig back in here, in fact, I have a message from a lady. Dr. Heather Calloway reminded me you have never sent her a signed book after all the promises you've made for years.
I just found the books.
Yeah.
We'll believe it when we see it.
They are in the trunk of my car, and I'm going to get one off to her.
Fantastic. Larry's got things in the trunk of his car to
There's
send
a
to these
surprise.
ladies.
You know what, though? I need her address.
Sure you do. All right, so we are officially back. We'll let that let
my.
that one ride.
Here we go.
I love him.
So we've talked about how it's a liquor control state.
Yep.
And we have state stores and beer distributors. Yet magically over the last year and a half, 2 years, maybe a little longer, we've seen some liquor type products appearing in gas stations around the state. So if we're a liquor control state, how does my local Sheetz have prepackaged liquor available by the counter for me to purchase?
Actually, you teed this up really well. It's a
You're
liquor.
welcome. I'll take a cut afterwards.
Well, yeah, okay. A percentage of zero is still zero.
Exactly.
No, so that is actually a liquor type product. So essentially,
Is this like when I go get ice cream and it's an ice cream product, but not ice cream?
it's like a processed cheese product.
Can
right?
we have Basil Hayden Dark Rye declared an alcohol-like product?
No, no, that's an alcohol product. But no, so it's a great question. Fireball and other brands that look like liquor are actually they're a malt-based alternative. So if you think about it, there's three types of alcohol that can be sold and are regulated in text. It's malt and brewed-based beverages, beer, wine products, fermented beverages, and then you have distilled spirits. Well, everybody knows Fireball is a distilled spirit. It's a whiskey. It's like 66 proof, right? The Fireball at Sheetz, if you look at the back, it's a malt-based product, which means Sheetz is actually able to sell it because they have a license to sell malt-based products.
Tricksy.
So yeah, it's
a technicality of law.
It is a technicality of law. They are fully within their right to do it. But like anything else, buyer beware. Know what you're buying.
Now I got to read the labels in the gas station.
See, literacy. What a wonderful thing.
Grammar.
Don't buy your liquor in gas stations.
Yeah, that's really your
Oh,
liquor, your
oh,
sushi,
geez.
and your egg salad sandwiches. Don't buy those in gas stations. Pete would be very proud of that.
Yes,
comment.
he would be. Yes, he would be.
But yeah, no, it's a great question. I mean, and that's, we've got over 1,200 grocery and convenience stores licensed to sell wine in Pennsylvania. So, yeah. So it's not actually hard to buy or find a bottle of wine.
So you talked about wine. That was a big change for the Liquor Control Board
It's
to go from it always being in state store to allowing grocery stores. And that's been what, 5, 6, 7 years now?
Since August of 2016.
Okay.
So that's actually the genesis of the job I have now. The job I used to have was the Director of Planning and Procurement, which I used to refer to as the best job on the Liquor Board because my bureau actually bought all the booze. So I had $1 billion spending authority to buy beverage alcohol, which I thought was the coolest job in the state.
That is.
Now here's the thing. I lived in South Carolina in Greenville.
Okay.
I moved in 1976. But 1971 and 72, I could go to a 7-Eleven store and buy beer and wine.
Mm-hmm.
I'd go to a Buy Low grocery store, which was a chain, buy beer and wine. In South Carolina, they had liquor by the drink. Many bottles for years. But you could go to a store and buy beer and wine.
And you had to go to a package
And when
store.
we came to Pennsylvania, you couldn't do it. Amazing.
Yep.
Now, Pennsylvania's ahead of the curve in a lot of ways. Well, let me put it like this. It used to be. But anyway, it was a shock to move back north. What am I missing?
The first half of this episode when he talked about the closed versus the open.
That
states.
doesn't make any sense, does it?
Well, so here's one of the lines that if any of my coworkers are ever listen to this podcast, they'll be like, "Oh, there's another Dougism," and I normally say this is that every state has its own brand of crazy
Yeah.
when it comes to liquor laws.
Yeah, exactly.
It does, and it goes back to every state had to make up what they wanted to do about beverage alcohol after Prohibition.
Exactly.
And and because it was a local decision, every state got to kind of do what they thought was best for their own citizens. So it's all versions of crazy. It's 50 different
And
versions
it's
of crazy.
correct, because in South Carolina, we had what we called ABC stores.
Yep.
And they were counter stores, usually very small operations. You walked into the counter, there was a clerk, he went back and got what you wanted. And that was it. All throughout the entire state. When it came to beer and wine, there was hardly any regulation.
Well, there was. You just didn't see it. That's all.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yes.
And I think that's the other thing is, you go to an open state and people think, well, there's not a lot of regulations there. And I would say, no, there absolutely is. It's just about how that state chooses to regulate beverage alcohol and what type of beverage alcohol they're trying to regulate. And most retail establishments do a really good job of being compliant with whatever that jurisdiction's liquor codes are. And they do it in such a way that the customer doesn't have to think about it.
Yep.
Because that's their job as a retailer, right? Is to make it easy for the customer to buy and kind of handle all that stuff over to the side, because they don't want you to be an expert in the liquor law. They want you to come in, and just like you talked about how our stores are great to walk in, you have one item, but you walk out with 8. Same thing with them.
Yep.
Their job isn't to educate you on the liquor code. It's to say, well, Larry, what do you want to drink? and get you sorted out.
Exactly.
So earlier, I lobbed you a softball, and you
I totally whiffed.
swung and missed.
I did.
So do you want to talk a little bit about the numbers that you brought?
Oh,
with you?
sure. Yeah. So if anybody's interested, this is my shameless plug for our annual report, which comes out every year. Hence annual report.
And it's public record.
One of the things about the benefits of having a liquor control board is that we're 100% self-funded. So if you think of all the government agencies in Pennsylvania or in most government entities, they're funded by general fund tax revenue. The Liquor Control Board in Pennsylvania is 100% self-funded. So every time, and we're funded by people who drink in Pennsylvania.
Amtrak, take note, they're self-funded.
Hello, Amtrak.
But yeah, so we pay every single bill. And at the end of every year, we even contribute essentially retained earnings or profit transfer back to the Commonwealth. And the last year was $185 million. But here's some numbers. According to our last annual report, we collected $431 million in liquor tax, $180 million in state and local tax, which just gets, sent back to the Department of Revenue or to Philadelphia and Allegheny County. The liquor tax just goes right back to the general fund. And then those fine folks figure out what to do with it. The other thing is we talk about enforcement of liquor laws in PA. there's an entire bureau within the Pennsylvania State Police called the Bureau of Liquor Control Enforcement. And those folks enforce liquor laws in PA. Well, the Liquor Control Board funds them to the tune of over $30 million a year. So we actually, through our revenue stream, we fund enforcement. We also gave $6.6 million in drug and alcohol programs. I already talked about the $185 million to the general fund. And then we had a $1 million grant to various entities for the wine industry and another $1 million to the beer industry. So it's, hundreds of millions of dollars that we not only pay our own bills, we give back to the Commonwealth on top of that. So, obviously everybody's got an opinion about the PLCB, and it's not, nobody is like middle of the road. I mean, let's face it. Nobody's middle of the road. You're either like, you're on one side or the other on that one. But I think a lot of times when you educate people about, okay, look, we are what we are. Mm-hmm. Here's what we do. And here's some of the things that we give back to the Commonwealth. And there is a lot of revenue there that we push back in. Not to mention,
it's easy to talk revenue, not to mention good paying jobs.
Correct.
With the folks who are working in the stores, who work for the Liquor Control Board, every time there's discussion about, well, should we keep the Liquor Control Board or not, a lot of it comes back to straight up employment, that it's a great job for people to have, and that's an opportunity for the state to contribute and create a great working environment.
Yeah, and we have, I don't have the exact number in front of me here.
Your HR department will appreciate that.
That's right.
Yeah, they will. But if I look at it this way, oh, shoot. I actually thought I had this is when I was working through it, so I was like, I know they're going to ask me how many guys.
Pages of notes.
I do.
Exactly.
I do have 8 pages of notes.
Exactly.
Well, you talk about being prepared and how to tie this back to Freemasonry, Larry. The answer is show up prepared, right? Mm-hmm. So I tried to show up prepared.
We thought Doug was a past master.
What? Fly by the seat of my pants and smack the gavel down when I need to?
That's it. So you can't.
But we have like over 3,000 employees. Whether that's in the stores or in central office, and
distribution and all those.
Well, and here's the thing: our 2 distribution centers. We have a handful of PLCB employees in there, but all those are actually private employees because we employ KLS in Philadelphia and we employ FedEx in Pittsburgh. So those are actually private sector jobs that we contract with those 2 companies to run our distribution centers. So those are private sector jobs that, again, we fund for distribution purposes. But we have they're good family. If you kind of hear, if you've heard testimony through the budget hearings over the last several years, our chairman makes a good point of saying these are good family sustaining jobs.
Absolutely.
They have state benefits.
Oh yeah. So every single person who works for the state or for the PLCB, you're a Commonwealth employee. So you get whatever the Commonwealth rules are as far as benefits and salary. You get those. And again, fully self-funded.
So you may not be able to answer this question, and if you can't, I will.
Is this where I need to prepare to write a question down for Chief Counsel?
No.
Okay.
You can lean over and whisper to me if you like.
Yeah.
Oh, jeez.
So what do you believe is one of the greatest learnings that the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania has learned, let's say over the, last 3 years, about liquor and sales and et cetera in the state of Pennsylvania?
That's a tough one.
I'll give you the answer if you don't want to answer it.
Well, I'll tell you what. I'll let you answer, and then I'll give you my answer because it's a personal one.
Okay. I think we all learned a lot during the pandemic. One of the great learnings I think everybody understood very quickly was if you're about to enter a pandemic where nobody can go do anything, don't close the liquor stores. Because now are you not only dealing with people in isolation, but you got people coming off of alcohol. And the great calming effect that it has on many people, let's just put it that way. I'm not going to talk about the many Smokey and the Bandit runs that occurred across the state.
Shout out to Mountain Liquors on Route 15, just south of Gettysburg.
Here, salute. I'm not going to say anything more about that, but I think we all learned a great lesson.
Let the record reflect I had my forehead against the microphone.
Exactly. Yeah, no, he did not say a word about that, and that was okay.
Here's what I can say about the pandemic, and because I can't speak to what others have learned, but what I can say is that I can tell you that every employee inside the liquor board that I worked with through the pandemic 100% wanted to do their job, was passionate about doing their job and trying to do it the right way to serve the consumers in Pennsylvania. And I think one of the things that I learned was that there still is a huge passion to do the right thing by the customer in folks. And that was really refreshing to see. That really was.
So you're talking about doing the right thing. You said you've got a 17-year career with Liquor Control Board, and you're working in state government.
Yep.
And that brings with it positives and negatives, but
Sure.
everything you do is under scrutiny. So how did what you've learned in Freemasonry influence your management and your ability to have integrity in that environment under such scrutiny?
So that's a great question. And I think the answer is, most of the folks I know at work know I'm a Freemason. And there is no place to hide. There are no private conversations. And that if you are a person of integrity, you need to not only just say the right things, you need to do the right things. And even when you don't do the right things, lose your temper in a meeting, you go back.
I can't imagine you losing your temper.
You can't ever imagine me losing my temper. You go back to the people that you probably lost your temper in front of, and this is 100%, and you apologize, because that's what people of integrity do. And you understand that when you work in in government, in public service, you are a public servant. And yes, there's the day job and go in and do your work, but the answer is you are serving the citizens of Pennsylvania in some way, shape, or form, and you need to take that seriously. And just like you're an officer going through the line, it's not about your title. Oh, I'm junior warden this year. Oh, I'm senior warden. Oh, I'm master. No, you're there to serve the lodge. And with that title, it's really not a title. It's a responsibility to the members of your lodge. Just like you as a manager, when you're a supervisor, you have a responsibility to your people to make sure that they have the tools to do their job, have the guidance to do their job effectively. And when they need to say something and get something off their chest, you give them the opportunity to walk into your office, close the door, say what they need to say, and let them walk out. But as a Mason, you are in charge. The lodge is in your charge. And it's wonderful to actually go back and listen to the ritual and to hear those words, and not just to hear them because you had to memorize them to pass school of instruction, but to actually internalize those words, where the lodge is in your charge. Well, for our lodge, that's 400 plus members that you're responsible for.
Almost 600.
Almost 6. It was almost 1,000 when we merged.
How many paid their dues?
All of them have paid their dues.
But yeah, seriously, and I don't mean to be glib about that, but you had a responsibility to the lodge, and even as a past master, you have a continued responsibility to the lodge to model the correct behavior for every member in that lodge and for every new member that's coming in, because we are links in that chain.
Yes, we are.
And you can talk about, because in Freemasonry, it's very simple. We are links in that chain. And, I know we make jokes about that's how we did it in 1942. We haven't changed the format of our notice, since 1928. We
haven't changed the printer since 1928.
Exactly.
It takes an act of the Grand Lodge to do that.
Exactly. And continuity is a fantastic thing. But it's also, you can't be afraid to innovate as long as you're innovating the right way and it's coming from the right place. And you talk about, we have this long chain of, past masters on the wall. There's also a management chain. I can tell you every good manager I've ever worked for. And as a manager of people, you try to make sure that when you make decisions around how to handle yourself as a manager and make decisions, I still think about, hey, does my former boss, John, would he think well of this decision or this course of action? Because as far as I'm concerned, I'm still a reflection on guys who trained me as a manager of people. just like we are a reflection of those mentors we had in the fraternity. And I want to make sure that as we mentor people ourselves, we understand that we are taking the rough surfaces of those ashlars, making them a little bit smoother, but also humble enough to know that we ourselves are being smoothed a little bit every year, and we should be smoothed every year that we're walking the planet.
God, this is getting serious.
How about that?
It is. Hey, you asked for this.
Larry said before we came on the air, find a way to make this Masonic, and I just queued that up for you, Larry.
Well,
so if you haven't figured it out, Larry, I'm
Next time, shoot me.
we've tried. We keep missing.
in all, I do have a lighter side, but in all, I take being a Mason very, very seriously. I mean, to the point where as soon as the license plate went onto my car, I had to realize that I'm actually a rolling billboard now for the fraternity.
Yeah.
And speeding.
Doug's serious Freemasonry reminds me of when I met Doug and I came to his lodge to do Masonic Jeopardy in the most solemn and serious manner while he was worshipful master, covering for Tom LeBaugh, if I recall correctly. With my beautiful co-host George Heinsohn, who was my Vanna White that night. Anyways, Larry had something.
That's a bad. Oh my.
Okay, can I just say that was an experience.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
So since we have delved into the Masonic realm here, talk a little bit about your Masonic journey and what I would really like to hear just a few moments of, because I've heard this from you before, but I think it's important. You came from the West Shore side of the Eureka-West Shore merger.
Yeah.
And you experienced something in that with the merger.
He was chairman of the merger committee.
He actually chaired
That's
the
a
merger.
really tough job.
Exactly. But I want to talk about what you experienced what made that merger actually work. But talk about your Masonic journey in general first.
Sure. So I would say I've always had a passing interest in the fraternity, or curiosity is probably the better word for it. And I ended up in a job where I had a bunch of retired guys working for me as valet drivers at the old L.B. Smith Jaguar. And we were talking one time, and I saw one of them had a Masonic ring on, and I asked some questions, and he was like, I really don't know too much, but I can find somebody who does. And the next day he came to work, he brought a petition. And I was like, so what's this? And he went, well, it's kind of like the cost of learning what, having those questions answered. And I was like, oh, okay, I'm game. So I joined West Shore Lodge, number 681 in Camp Hill, Pennsylvania. And
I didn't realize, side note, I didn't realize it was 681 because Abraham C. Treichler is 682.
That's right.
So that's a fun tie-in, my home lodge.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. And we'll get to another E-Town thing. Because when I was a kid growing up, I grew up actually right outside of Elizabethtown. Mm-hmm. And I remember riding my bike as a kid on the grounds of Masonic villages.
Oh, wow.
In E-Town. So I've always known about, the guys with the really cool stone buildings.
We did have good stone buildings.
We got some cool stone buildings in E-Town. We do.
All right, back to West Shore.
But that's back to West Shore. So I get to West Shore. I joined the fraternity. And like any young guy, I felt like I was set upon by a pack of hyenas and put into a chair pretty quickly.
Fresh meat.
No, you made eye contact.
I made eye contact. And I got pressed into service and ultimately was master in 2011. And when I was master in 2011, I looked, you're looking for the future, right? You're trying to figure out, okay, who's going to follow me the next year? And by the summer of 2011, I went, oh boy, we're in trouble, guys. We didn't have a lot of guys. We actually had one person who was certified maybe in 1 or 2 degrees, 1 degree. I had made a promise to my wife that I was not going to do 2 years in the East. After going through the chairs, we had that conversation. And I called a meeting of the past masters in summer of 2011 and said, look, guys, I can't do a second year. And I don't feel comfortable putting any of the guys in line behind me in the East because they're not certified. They're not qualified to lead the lodge. We have to merge. I said, we have a lot of great qualities as a lodge. One of them is not members. So started a merger committee. I was chair of the merger committee. We found a past master, who, thank goodness, he ended up doing his 3rd tour in the East to be master in 2012. And we started looking for common ground for a merger. And probably one of the best stories I can tell about Freemasonry is we had a meeting with the past masters of 681, the merger committee, and a group of past masters from 302. And I kind of went through my spiel about, here's where we're at, here's why we're having this conversation, this is why we asked for a meeting with the past masters of 302. And Walt Daniels stood up, past master of 302.
Who was like the voice of God in Eureka 302.
He's the tone setter, if you will. Mm-hmm. And he stands up maybe 15, 20 minutes into this meeting and basically makes the comment, and I'm going to paraphrase, of, well, we're not perfect either. And it seems that where you're strong, we're not. Where we're not strong, you are. And the right thing to do is to find a path forward together. And we need to figure out a way to make this work as a merger. And as soon as I heard that, I was like, we're home. We found some guys who actually listen to the third degree. Who can use the trowel to spread the cement of brotherly love. And I thought, boys, we're home.
And a long-serving past master who remembered that.
Yeah. That was the magic of that merger. And, I think from that meeting on, it took us, 2-3 months?
Maybe.
To hammer out terms of merger and to hammer out a new bylaws. There was never an argument in that merger process. And it took Walt's leader, and I'll be eternally grateful to Walt for that, for showing that type of leadership to stand up in front of a group of, guys he really never met, but knew they were brothers, and to stand up in front of his group of past masters and say, boys, we're going to figure out a way to make this work. And I think we had and still to this day, none of us, of course, we know where we came from, if you will, pre-merger. But from the point in time that we merged those two lodges, we're all 302 guys.
Mm-hmm. And I think it's appropriate that you're wearing a Eureka-West Shore 302 past master shirt. It's not, I was a past master of 681 who merged into 302. I'm a past master of 302. That's how you identify.
Absolutely. And I think that, when I had to make the pitch as merger chair inside 681, because, you have to go through all the votes, right? And I said, guys, this is not about me. This is not about anybody in this line. This is about making sure that the members of our lodge have access to a vibrant and sustainable version of Freemasonry in central Pennsylvania.
For the record, Larry's phone is going off again.
That's great. But yeah, and I said, look, guys, this is about making sure our members who want to have access to a vibrant Freemasonry have access. And the best way to do that is to merge these two lodges because we actually complement each other very, very well. And I think, the last 10, 11 years have just been proof positive of what you can do when you got past masters who are willing to lead and lead on the right principles.
That message was from Jack Harley letting us know when we leave the building because he thinks maybe we're out already.
Yeah, no, this is too good. This is too good.
We're having a good time. But
I do want to say, that being someone who was a member, I was down the line still.
Well, you were an officer, right?
I was an officer, but I wasn't. Yeah. I was still down the line a few spots.
Young green Timmy Deadman.
Yes.
Little Timmy working his way through the line.
I was actually fortunate enough.
This was before he was the Tim Deadman.
The secretary.
I was actually the year of the merger. I was the year, running into the merger. I was actually senior deacon, so I was actually the first elected junior warden of the merge lodge. And so, anyway, but being on that side of it, I will tell you that literally from the first meeting on, you could walk into our lodge on any day, and there is no way in the world you would ever be able to determine who was 302 previously and who was 681 previously. Now, we're 11 years in, and so now nobody knows anything different, but 11 years ago, 2 meetings in, you couldn't tell that difference. And I know that's something that I appreciated and we appreciated, and I think that that's something that has enabled us to continue to grow and to be, quite frankly, one of the preeminent lodges in central Pennsylvania. And,
Has anybody told you that humility is one of your strong suits, Tim?
Exactly. No, but I also know a good thing when I see it.
It is. And I it was one of those things where you could only hope that things turned out that way, because when you're going through a merger, you hear horror stories.
Right.
You just hear horror stories, and two things crossed my mind about that. One is, geez, I hope that doesn't happen to us. And number two, I kind of scratch my head and go, well, why is this a problem? Do they not read the charges? Have they not listen to the stuff that we talk about in the degree work? This shouldn't be an issue.
Right.
And then you find out it's because you got a group of past masters that don't have their heads screwed on straight. Yeah. And you kind of go, well, that's a shame.
Right. 2 quick points before our last break. First of all, the irony in the merger.
Oh, this is beautiful. So West Shore Lodge number 681 was warranted and constituted in 1915. And the vast majority of the warrant members were 302 guys. Because, Mechanicsburg in 1915 was a little bit of a hike from Camp Hill.
The old-fashioned Spite Lodge.
Yes, exactly.
Oh, jeez.
Just teasing.
Maybe.
And the other thing, I want to acknowledge what I think is an incredibly successul merger. None other than our own Lamberville. Of the Lamberton Lodge and Millersville Lodge, that we have a strong majority here in the studio tonight.
And there are 4 of us here tonight.
And who is the chair of one side of that merger committee?
I have no idea. Larry?
One of the Larrys.
One of the Larrys. One of the Stooges. No.
Yeah, I've been listening to these two,
Brag.
Tim and Doug, talk about, we didn't do anything like that. They had all these past masters on their committee. We had one, you.
Right.
And it was myself and Ben, who were business people. Now, on the Howell side, they had 3 past masters. Mm-hmm. But it went very, very well.
Well, that's only because we had been working together long before the merger.
Many
helping do the
years.
chairs
Yes.
and the different charity events we did.
It was a love event. It was
it was natural.
Easy. And Grand Lodge did mention to us indirectly that it was one of the smoothest, best mergers they've ever had. Yes.
Yeah, after
so
ours.
You're right. Yeah, yours wasn't that easy from what I understand. It wasn't. But there are, and you're right, there are lodges in Pennsylvania that are like, it's a bloodbath to merge.
Right.
Yeah, and they're in the same building.
It shouldn't be. It shouldn't be.
And realize how lucky you are to have a lodge to merge with, period.
Yeah.
There's a lot of jurisdictions where the next closest lodge is 90 miles away. So this concept of I'm going to merge 90 miles from my home lodge, they don't even have an option.
Right.
So to have an option of like-minded brothers to come together is really a blessing in and of itself.
I mean, well, let's face it. Central Pennsylvania is kind of a...
We are very lucky.
We are
We don't
blessed.
realize how lucky we are sometimes.
Incredibly blessed in so many ways Masonically. Larry Griffith, you had something you wanted to say?
As the oldest past master that was involved with the merger between, I guess, Millersville.
Even older than Larry?
Older than Larry?
Yeah.
Well, Larry's not a past
We're the
master.
same age, actually.
Well,
Wow.
I got
Larry's
you back
not
a
a
couple
past
months, but I was past master long before you came to Lancaster.
Well, that's right.
Oh,
but
okay.
I've been a Mason
Longer serving past master.
Longest serving past master.
Okay.
yes.
Nobody's older than Larry.
And
Which, by the way,
The collar's been thrown.
let's tease a future bit that we're going to do here on the podcast.
Both,
Larry has the word of the chair, though.
Yeah.
both Uncola, that's true, I do. Both Uncola and myself are 49 years. Next year, we're 50.
Yeah.
50 years is amazing.
I'll be
50 years in-
50 years next year, both of us.
50 years.
Going to
yes.
get that pin?
But I was not actually.
That's
I gotta admit,
fantastic.
I was not actually in favor of the merger to start with. I didn't think it was necessary because my grandfather was a member of Lamberton Lodge 476, and I just thought we should be able to make it on our own. But we did work with Millersville, and I actually live closer to the Millersville Lodge than I do to the Lamberton Lodge. And as things went along,
And I convinced
it's
him.
probably the best thing we could have done.
That's true, Larry.
That's
W. Larry.
So, there's not much else I can say.
That's
that
really good.
It was probably the smartest, wisest thing that we did was to go through with that, although I was not part of that committee at all.
No, you weren't asked
But
to be.
they're putting me to work.
Sorry, Larry. I'm sorry, Larry.
At the new building. So.
Josh didn't ask you to be on it.
The Grim Reaper of Lamberton.
But I think
Were you Master Josh?
he's known as Josh Lamberton Killer.
I'm the Lamberton Killer.
He's the Lamberton Killer. So,
Okay.
But I think what Larry Griffith just said is incredibly important.
It is.
Yeah.
Someone who initially on the surface was opposed to something, who a couple of years later has been able to sit back and go, oh my,
It was the best thing we could have
this
done.
is the best thing we could have ever done.
Yeah.
And the conversation that we've just had for the last 15 or 20 minutes here about this is something that I hope that Masons and Masters and lodges all across this country, because let's face it, the heyday of Freemasonry coming probably around the 1960s, post World War II, that era, those days are long gone in terms of the numbers of men that are coming into our fraternity. Do we need to do a better job of getting guys to come in? Absolutely.
Sure.
But we are going to continue to see this fraternity constrict and get smaller for a period of time. But it's going to take the kind of men like you are, that you just described, Larry Griffith, who can say, okay, I really wish my original lodge, my mother lodge, if you will, could survive, but recognizing there's actually a better way. Freemasonry, I'm a Freemason, and it doesn't matter whether my number is 102 or 694 or whatever the number is. And Freemasonry is Freemasonry regardless of a name or a number.
Oh, yeah, it's beyond those four walls.
Correct.
Oh, amen.
The lodge is in a building.
Correct.
Correct.
Yeah.
Absolutely. All right. Well, let's take our final break of the night, and we will come back with our Romper Room shout-outs.
Yeah.
And then we'll close out tonight's episode.
You have a good day today, friends. I did. Wait! You know what time it is? It's time for me to see the friends at home in the magic mirror. Romper bumper, stomper boo, tell me, do. Magic mirror, tell me today, did all my friends have fun at play? All my friends had fun today. I see David's having a special day today.
And I see Mark L. Rosignol from Cotter Lodge number 297, Liberty Lodge number 300, and Craftsman Lodge number 314 in the Grand Lodge of Nebraska. Whoa, this guy has some heavy dues to pay. The legions of demon are everywhere. The Dumbo commands you.
It's Ben Kaminsky.
I also see Thomas Fraley listening from Bluestone Lodge number 338 in Halstead, Pennsylvania. Chris Sova from Joppa, Winona, number 315 from the Great Mitten State of Michigan. Greg Hess, who we shouted out before, from Armstrong Lodge number 239 in Freeport, Pennsylvania. Doug Butkus from Lodge Isaac Heister number 600.
Isaac Heister.
Heister. Oops. Sorry. Magic Mirror, you've done me wrong. Number 660 in West Reading. Steve Myers from Meru Grotto in Lafayette, Indiana. Hunter Clotter, ooh, that's a big name. Cloutier from Minnesota, current master of Forest Lake Masonic Lodge number 344. And our good friend, Rick Kellinger.
Oh, that's my guy.
From my own lodge of Eureka-West Shore Lodge number 302. And Larry.
Yes, Seneca, South Carolina. He's with the EWS 302 Southern Floating and Mobile RV Annex, whatever that is, in Seneca, South Carolina. And, of course, I have a lot of experience in Seneca, one of my favorite places to visit when I lived in Greenville, South Carolina. I sent him a note. I said, I love Seneca, spent a bunch of time there when I lived in Greenville. And he said that we're on Lake Kiowa. He's a beds and burgers and boat rides and then bourbon and cigars, my kind of guy. And he said, anybody wanting to visit, let him know. He'll be there. And he's looking for some recommendations for a local lodge to visit, I think, when he comes up here. So,
actually, Larry, he is from here. He just moved to Seneca.
That's the guy that's our buddy.
That's our buddy.
Oh, man, he moved
That's
to
why he
Seneca.
said the Southern Floating and Mobile Annex of Eureka-West Shore 302.
Now
Maps
I know
are
who
hard.
you are. We love you, man.
Exactly.
Oh, man, Seneca.
A couple of other quick shout-outs to Steve Shemp, Daryl Ziner, and Ryan Parsons, who's a member in District 7, and we'll mention your event here in a moment. Seth, you've got a couple shout-outs.
Yeah, I want to shout out to a guy who, if you're a Reddit user, you might know him as Cook SLC on Reddit, but a guy I've come to greatly respect, past Grandmaster of Utah, Glenn Cook, who's been at the World Conference of Grandmasters in Jerusalem the last several days.
That sounds really important.
Glenn, we need to have you on the show at some point, but he and I have been going back on some AMD stuff. He happens to be chairman of the Board of General Purposes of the Allied Masonic Degrees, and he's been giving me live updates from the World Conference of Grandmasters, and today he said 70 Grand Lodges agreed on the same thing.
Oh my gosh.
What?
I don't know
was
how
it
it's
to
possible.
adjourn?
It was not to adjourn.
Okay.
So Glenn, we need to have you on the show to tell us what 70 Grand Lodges could agree on, because that is a momentous moment.
That's amazing.
That is. That's incredibly amazing. So a couple of shout-outs here that people left us. The 7th Masonic District in Pennsylvania is hosting a casino night on Saturday, June the 3rd at the West Reading Masonic Center. You can look online and find more details about that. I know the Valley of Reading is having their very first steak and cigar event on Sunday, June 4th. Don't go to their website because it has the wrong date.
It's on Facebook, though.
And it shows that the reservations are closed, but if you go to their Facebook page, they do have an event there showing that. And then there's one other, we'll talk about that one at the end because I got to look it up. I know what it is. The Widow's Sons, the guy down at Mozart Lodge in Philadelphia asked me to announce they've got a bike ride coming up. So go to their website and to the Facebook page to find out details about that upcoming event. Seth, you've got something?
Saturday, August 19th, the ingathering of Allied Masonic Degrees in Pennsylvania at Mechanicsburg Lodge, the home of Eureka-West Shore.
Man, we're getting a lot of talk tonight, aren't we?
302 tonight. I originally put that event together, but it's now Vince Cruciani's problem as new Grand Superintendent of Central Pennsylvania. We'll be doing Royal Ark Mariner work that day. So if you're an AMD member and willing to travel to Pennsylvania in June on the 19th of August, let me know.
All right. Larry, what do you got going on Masonically the next couple of weeks?
Tomorrow night, I'm speaking at the Knights Templar Lodge in Lebanon, Pennsylvania.
That'd be a commandery, Larry.
Commandery, thank you.
It'll be over with before this episode comes
I'm not
out.
a Knight Templar, but
We can fix that.
you can fix that, I know, yes. And Goose and Gridiron, of course, tomorrow morning as well. A lot of tall cedar stuff going on, so I don't even want to get involved with talking about that tonight. But anyway, that's what I've got going on.
Seth.
So looking ahead at ye old calendar, this coming Saturday is another full day at Eureka-West Shore Lodge, number 302. We've got Royal Ark Mariners and AMD and Aaron Council of Knight Masons, which I'm involved in all of those. And then on the 20th of May, we have a reunion at the Valley of Reading. So if you're Scottish Rite Mason in central Pennsylvania or thereabouts, let me know. We'll get you hooked up with the Valley of Reading.
Doug.
So Friday, stated meeting. Valley of Harrisburg, Scottish Rite.
It will have already happened by the time this episode comes out.
Fair. Well, when we talk,
Is there bingo?
But that's right.
No bingo.
Installation of officers.
Yes. So next week, will we be out next week?
Wednesday.
Okay. Well, hey,
Talk about it.
District 3 past masters
There you
dinner. Down at the Carlisle Masonic Center.
Yep.
So great night. It's always great to be around a bunch of past masters. And then after that, actually the next night, I'll be handing out our lodge's scholarship award. We have a scholarship winner. I won't announce it, but I won't spoil it for the winner. But that's actually one of the coolest things I do for the lodge every year. Is I'm the scholarship chairman, and I actually, we go through the process, select a winner, and I get to go out to a local high school and hand out a scholarship or two every year. So that's this next Thursday, and then, my goodness, I think that's really about it until our stated meeting. But I'm going to be in South Carolina during our.
We look forward to having you at the next stated meeting of Perseverance, chapter number 2021, Royal Arch Masons.
which is
Harrisburg. First Monday.
He can't come because it's our stated meeting, which he's going to miss because he's out of town.
I'm out of town. Yeah, that was a tactical error, but we'll fix it.
Larry Hudson.
Well, if you like barbecue chicken, and who doesn't like barbecue chicken, Millersville Lodge 476 is going to have on Saturday, May the 20th, between 10 a.m. and 2 p.m., barbecue chicken. The dinner is $13, and that includes a very delicious half chicken, potato, applesauce, roll, and drink. So I invite everyone to come out.
Be worth the trip, believe me. Mm-hmm. Larry Griffith.
And if I had some tickets, 4 tickets, because another Larry here has said he would like 4 tickets for the half meals.
Because I can't stand the damn baked potatoes.
They can't. He doesn't care for the baked potatoes.
Just give you the chicken.
Oh, and that stuff is at Kissel Hill.
It's carbs, Larry.
Give me the chicken.
It's carbs.
Chicken's good.
I really did like what we talked about tonight. There are so many ways that you can help out with different auxiliary groups. But for everybody, find a charity that you can help out with. And if you don't have one, do what Pete did. Start your own. He started his own. And it has turned out to be a great help for our local horses and dogs that are working with the police department. So there's all kinds of things out there that you can help with. Mine personally is with the Lancaster's Children's Dyslexics Center. I help out with that. Everybody here probably is helping out with one or more.
Yep.
So try to do your thing.
Great. Thanks for joining us.
Great advice.
Joshy.
I think I might try to make it out to Steffi's for
Grotto.
For Grotto.
Steffi's Neverland Ranch.
You may be the official Masonic Light podcast representative there.
I know.
That's great.
Flamethrowers and turtles. It'll be a good time.
Yep.
What could go wrong?
Are you a turtle?
You bet your sweet ass I am. All right.
Oh, speaking of turtles, we made turtles.
Yeah, we might have to confer that degree after we're done here tonight.
Here.
So, all right. So I have coming up Harrisburg Council number 7 next Monday.
Royal and Select Master Masons.
Royal Select Master Masons. Next Tuesday on the 16th, Carlisle Lodge will be hosting our Right Worshipful Grand Master, Jeffrey Wunderling. Yes. And then the aforementioned District 3 Past Masters Dinner, which is always a great hit. And those of you who aren't in District 3 should ask questions about how you do something as cool as this. And then on the 19th and 20th, which is next Friday and Saturday, is the reunion of the Big Valley of Harrisburg. So if you want to see some really cool degree work, come see us.
He leaned in on that one.
Yeah, he did.
Someday we'll figure out how to make Harrisburg and Reading not be on the same
We really
day.
do.
Someday.
We really
Jeff
do.
Moyer, this is your notice.
Here you go. There's teeing it up. All right.
And they told me one night a month only.
There you go.
The big lie in Freemason.
That's the big lie.
Worst lie.
That's right. All right. What a great episode. Thank you guys for coming in. The other two Larrys thought they were going to get to just come and watch, but nobody comes here without getting put to work. So thanks to you all. Jack, wherever you are, safe travels. Josh, I think it's time to release the chickens and let Larry get us out of here. Larry.
Special thanks to Effort Lodge 665 for allowing us to continue to record in this beautiful studio that was provided by many good people. To Josh Lamberton, our producer director, Jack Harley, our news director. I want to talk to you about Jack.
You can't. We're done.
We haven't had a newscast for a long time.
Yeah, we need to
wrap it up, Larry.
We
Wrap
need to
it up.
contact Walter.
Focus.
Tim Dedman, our marketing director. To Michelle Snyder, Doug Maddenford, Austin Schifrin, Masonic Light.
Hey, you got it right. You got that right tonight.
Contributors.
Well done.
And I
more
want to close with one thing.
Grown.
This is Larry Mears. Thanks for listening.
Hopefully the censors will grab that.
Please.
This is Tim.
Wow.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Bye-bye.